Welcome to Chaos Divided, your weekly dose of wholesome hammer, where we explore the hobby, the game, and the lore of Warhammer 40k. We're your hosts, Nurgle Snurgle and Blushing Noise Marine. This week, we're kicking off the first part of Bitz Unknown. I know it sounds a little familiar. It's a little bit of a play on Parts Unknown, if you're familiar with the Anthony Bourdain show. So this kind of is a show or part of the podcast where we want to be sharing our stories from a special trip. And this trip was at PlayOn Tabletop in Vancouver, British Columbia. If you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to give us a follow. If you're a fan of what we do and want to support us, you can find a link to our Patreon in the episode description. This week's quote is a little bit from a memory that we had during our stay there, and is, "The coffee is black like my soul." And that is a quote from Tack from PlayOn Tabletop.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And why it's kind of as a quote is we had some lovely discussions with Tack, including Tack's adventurous food discoveries around the world. And he did share that he had the cat poop coffee. And I asked, what was the color? And he shared it was black like his soul. But I think, a good split second later, he had that smirk at the corner of his eye.
I wasn't expecting
his eyes mouth.
He as funny as he is.
Yes.
He is a comedy genius, and you can't tell me otherwise.
He has that dry humor down pat.
Oh, yeah. At one point I said, I love your sense of humor, and he was like, I don't have a sense of humor.
And there it is. There's the sense of humor. Yeah.
I also like that Bits Unknown is a play on Parts Unknown, and we went to play on. It's like a riff of a riff. It's riffception.
Love it. I didn't even catch on to that. Good job, Laura.
But yeah, we made the 6,000 kilometer trek to Vancouver.
And we did it on the most perfect day, daylight savings time. So not only were we 4 hours behind, we added an extra hour. It was 5 hours.
We left Halifax at 6 a.m. We got to Vancouver at 11 a.m. So it was a very long day.
Yeah, it sounds short. But don't let that fool you. Should we talk about the plane ride, or the beginning?
You know what? I think, to the surprise of no one, we got held up in Pearson. In both directions.
Well, I really like the random checking of our bags. First thing in the morning, both of us, no one in lineup. It's like, hey, you've been selected to be a random. Oh, both of us random? Wow.
Could imagine why. But then they didn't check your models. You have this black plastic box.
Corn symbol on it.
Right? It's like, if anything looked like it was a bomb, it was that case. And no, that's fine. No interest in that.
Oh, they even asked, what's in here? Miniature models. I was like, do you want me to open them? No, I'll just swap the outside. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm looking at
your little crochet bag. They're like, "What's in here?"
I'm looking at the left, and Laura's got everything on the table. But
traveling with me is like,
yeah. Hey, but coming back, you got to see what traveling with me was like.
It's true. You got taken.
I got taken aside. But you were just saying about Pearson's, and that was. I felt my heart pumping out. I almost thought we weren't gonna make it to Vancouver that day.
I mean, okay, so we literally had such a comedy of errors getting into Pearson. If you're not familiar with Toronto, the main airport is Pearson International, and it is the worst airport you can travel through ever. Mm-hmm. It is just a disaster on its best day. Mm-hmm.
It's not even one airport. It's split up into different airports. Terminal 1. You think going from Terminal 1 to Terminal 3 would be easy?
No, there's a train involved. Like, it's that stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very dumb. It takes forever to get in and out of it. Like, you're taxiing forever. So we're
Yeah.
doing like the super long taxi. We get to the gate, and
But not just that. Okay, we land and they're like, "Oh, we're like 5-10 minutes early. Sweet, we're looking
yeah.
grand." 5 minutes later, so there's a plane in our gate, and we're just waiting for them to leave. This will be a short more time. 10 minutes later, so they're having technical difficulties. We're gonna be waiting for a gate to open somewhere else. Oh man, it's gonna be like another 20 minutes. You know, airport time is not 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like 45 minutes later before we're off the plane. Now, we did luck out. It was like a Pearson error in our favor.
Yes.
The gate that we did get was in the right terminal, which we previously were going to be in the wrong terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only like 5 gates down. So it like somehow managed to benefit us. We got there like we had like enough time to go to the bathroom and then just like right back onto a plane.
Oh yeah, when we showed up at that gate, it was already lineup of people boarding.
Yeah. And we're like, all right, this is great. I was like, because we also like, we had left so early, we hadn't eaten breakfast. So we're like, okay, we have a chance to eat something.
You mean the Nutri-Grain bars and yogurt and milk, not even in ice at the hotel? Yeah, that.
Yeah. They were like, oh, the hotel. We stayed at a hotel because we left so early that they were like, oh, we have a takeaway breakfast. I was like, oh, like a little lunchboxy thing. That would be fun.
Oh, like a little apple or banana.
No, Nutri-Grain bars and unrefrigerated dairy products.
Room temp.
So like by this point, we're like, you know, we're going on no breakfast, no lunch. Get on the plane.
Pretzels and ginger ale.
Yeah. And then it's a 5.5-hour flight from Toronto to Vancouver.
Yeah, and it was hard to justify buying $5 Mr. Noodles on the plane.
So instead, what did I do when we got
waited.
to Vancouver? No, but instead of buying $5 Mr. Noodles, I bought a $25 chicken wrap. And it was bad.
Please tell me more. I think you described you said it had like quinoa and kale.
There was like cilantro. It said it was a sweet Thai like chicken wrap, and I was like, okay, I can imagine what that tastes like. No sweet chili sauce in it. I don't even know if there was chicken in it, to be honest with you.
I just saw like this big piece of like the knuckle of the wrap. That's all I saw.
It was
like
80% wrap.
Yeah. Oh, I felt so bad because like as we were landing, I looked over at Laura and she's slightly turning green. And just like,
well, I had also not eaten supper the night before because I was just like busy, and like I'd eaten like a late lunch with Elliot, so it was kind of like, oh, I'm not super hungry. And then like come supper time, I was like, I'll just like go to bed because we went to bed early. And then so it was like missed like 3 meals at this point, was about to like pass out in the airport, was like, I need something. And you're like, oh, there's like a little like sandwich place. I was like, oh, that can't be that ridiculous. And it was. Don't do it.
Yeah. If you're gonna travel, feed yourself.
Right? I mean, I blame Pearson, because if we had even 20 more minutes, we would have been able to like at least get something in Toronto.
Yeah.
Because we walked through a huge food court. Like we could have, there was options there, but yeah. No, it was so we were off to a great start. We get to Vancouver. I go on the alleged sky train that does not go in the sky.
It is. Is that what you're expecting? She said
if you call it a sky train, I expect it to at least levitate. It did not even levitate.
It was marked SkyTrain. It was called a SkyTrain. It's a SkyTrain.
Okay, well, what do they call ferries in Vancouver?
Sea bus.
Yeah, see, everything has a silly name. It's
How
not
is
my
that?
fault.
But there's big ferries you drive on, and then there's little ferries that you walk on. Now, if you say ferry, people are going to be confused. So sea bus, people automatically know what you're talking about.
No,
like here in Halifax, there should be sea buses. Who operates those ferries? Bus.
What?
What's it on? Sea. Ocean bus. There you go.
You know what? Okay,
Harbor
then you
bus.
know what?
There
It
you
should
go.
look like a bus then. It should like be like the harbor hopper. It should just be like a bus that goes in the water then, because
Like
it looked like a
Theodore
boat.
Tugboat.
Yeah,
Rest in peace, Theodore. Wherever you are.
he's not. He's like in Hamilton. They stole him.
He went to Ontario?
I know a fate worse than death.
So we took on Ontario civilians in trade of Theodore Tugboat.
I'd rather have Theodore back.
Theodore.
Yeah, no, he like sits in the Great Lakes now and like does like touristy stuff.
Tugboat
Like,
stuff.
yeah. Well, he's not a real tugboat. He's just a boat.
Oh, no.
But he's cute. He's a
He's
cute
a happy
little
boat.
happy boat
Yeah.
with a little red cap.
Okay, so so also I was letting Laura know that one of the things I noticed about Nova Scotia was like people are just a little shorter, and I don't think Laura kind of believed me. And we're waiting for the SkyTrain, and like the first two people that came off the SkyTrain were like over 6'3".
I think one of them was pushing 7 feet tall. He like had to like almost bend over completely to get out of the train.
And she's like, they are tall here.
I've never been so instantly proven wrong.
Yeah. I think one of my favorites is just watching your reactions to everything and observing like, this is her first reaction. Because like we're on the SkyTrain and she looks into the river and the harbor and she goes, they got logs in the water? What? This is the most BC thing I've ever seen.
I didn't think they still did that. I'm like, why? Like, it's not 1890 anymore. I thought you guys had moved past that, but no. There's just like logs hanging out.
But like Kat said, like it helps with transportation. You don't have those on the road, so water.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still on man.
But what was your first reactions to seeing Vancouver, seeing BC life?
I've been to like a few bigger cities now, and Vancouver is very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were also there at like kind of probably the end of their fall.
Yeah.
So like the leaves were all like beautiful. It was like a nice temperature. It was like 15 degrees every day. Like I feel like we just kind of like walked in and it was just like super nice.
Mm-hmm.
The downtown is like, it's not really on the water, which I found a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
Like Halifax is on the water, but it's a little bit pushed back.
But we're not that. No, we weren't that. I don't think we went. I didn't take you to the other side of downtown, which is on the water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, but it's like the mountains are in the background. Well, it took us a little while to see the mountains, which was because it rains constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very pretty, and it's like it looks very different than here.
Mm.
But also looks very different from Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Like Toronto is also just a bunch of like condo towers at this point, but I feel like Vancouver's done a better job of like blending them in.
Yeah.
So you don't just have like glass boxes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like more of the heritage left around Vancouver. Like there's like different architecture to look at. Like stuff looks not just like this homogeneous, just like blue glass, which was cool.
Yeah.
It's very pretty. It was also very clean.
Oh, yeah.
Like definitely like less litter and just like cigarette butts and stuff than you see here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they definitely do a good job at that. Yeah, you don't see like overflowing garbage bins or like dog poop bags everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if I noticed like, I definitely saw less dogs though in general.
That's very true.
Mm.
But we also we stayed at the Hilton downtown and we were able to see some of the rooftops, and it was pretty astounding to see a lot of the rooftops are green. They have their trees, they have grass. So it's nice to see that they're utilizing their rooftops instead of just letting it go to waste.
Well, at one point we were, which we'll talk about later, but we were waiting in line and I looked over at a building and there was just like a bunch of trees on top of it, and it like it was like took me a few seconds to like process it. I was like, how are How are the trees up so high though?
Where are their roots?
How did they? How did? How does that work?
It's working, but how?
I was like, oh, it's like a rooftop garden.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like really, yeah. When you're like, if you're up high enough and you look down, you just see like green spaces everywhere, which is also really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that like as Halifax grows, they maybe should figure out.
Yeah. Yes.
There's also like living walls in random places too, like just like, which was nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so our first day there was the Saturday, and then we had the Sunday, and then PlayOn was going to be a Monday. So we intentionally planned it that way so that we could have a day of rest because of the time change. So,
LOL.
Tee hee hee. So yeah, we got to explore Vancouver more on the Saturday night.
We did.
And got to explore the food.
The food.
A little asterisk. There will be a lot of food talk.
We were joking before we started this that like this is gonna be maybe 30% less food talk than Parts Unknown was.
So it fits very well.
It's you know what, the food, every meal was incredible. Like I didn't have a bad meal, which is like when you're traveling, that's hard to say. That like I didn't even know if I had a mediocre meal. Like it was like everything was just like banging. It was amazing. So we did some we didn't really pub crawl. We just found a couple pubs and then like stayed stationary after walking around a bit. But we what was it? The like bao taco things?
Yes.
Those looked very good.
Oh, they were so good. Oh, I had a bite of a couple and and I had an alcoholic popsicle for $3.
That was
awesome.
They were like, people don't really just order those on your own. And I was like, but why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. They managed to freeze peach schnapps, so that's like,
yeah.
You know, if you're gonna do it, you might as well like own it.
Yeah.
You look so happy with it too. You're just like.
Yeah, my first I filmed my first reactions, and my eyes just like bugged out of my skull. Like, what? What is this? I'm here for it. Makes me want to do some maybe Adentoho for the summer because that'd be kind of cool. Little tequila, little margarita popsicles.
Tequila-sicles?
I don't think that works.
Tealixicles?
It sounds like
it's
testicles.
getting worse.
Sorry, Laura. So your marketing on that name is just
avocados literally means testicles, so like it's just more testicles at a Mexican place.
We've got balls.
And then we so I did find out that there is a BC unique food called Yorkies that I have never seen anywhere else.
Really?
Well, have you seen them anywhere?
Maybe not in restaurants, I guess. But when I was at the Canard Center, we used to make Yorkshire puddings all the time.
But would you like fill them with like meat and so that's where it goes from like Yorkshire pudding to like Yorkies.
Okay.
Because I've been to other parts of BC and they had them there too. I think it's a BC thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to go track some of those down.
And we did. And would you like to describe them?
So if you've ever had a Yorkshire pudding, it's like well, actually, the ones we had were mini ones, so they were smaller. But I've also had like ones with like a giant Yorkshire pudding, and they're the same. They're just as good. So it's a Yorkshire pudding filled with like roast beef, and
thinly sliced, like just the perfect sliced.
Yes, with some horseradish, or I think it's out there. It's a horseradish aioli. I think is what I've usually seen it.
I think so, yeah.
And then it's served with like a cup of au jus, and just like the egginess of the Yorkshire pudding and the beef coming together is like so decadent.
With crispy onions.
There you go. Oh yeah, that one had crispy onions.
Yes.
We ate so much good food. I've forgotten the details of some of it. Oh, it was so good. And the beer. Okay, so for some reason,
Yeah.
Vancouver is really big on stouts right now, and everywhere we
Mm-hmm.
went, they were serving these like quite alcoholic stouts
Mm-hmm.
that were like super easy to drink. So we're like,
And
felt like,
so dark.
yeah,
And one
they
was
were
like the biggest
creamy.
head.
They were some creamy friggin' pints, let me tell you. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we're like in this like English bar, eating these Yorkies. I got fish and chips as well. You got so Parmesan fries.
But yeah, Parmesan garlic fries.
Oh,
And like the portion was huge. I was like,
it
oh
was.
no.
And yeah, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm on the West Coast. Let's see what their fish and chips are like. And it was so good. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
everything was amazing. Actually, we did have one blunder with food though. Before we made it to these restaurants, remember the donair place we walked into?
Oh, how it was clearly advertised on the banner outside. Donair. And Laura was like, if we're here, I have to try a West Coast donair.
I was so curious. So we walk in, like on the sign says donair, like not donor, not doner kebab, donair, which is like a very maritime thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, I gotta find out what this is. And Vancouver, we need to have a real talk right now. That is not a donair.
There
First
was
off,
no donair.
or what? Like I was like, can I get a donair? And they're like, oh yeah, we have donair sandwiches, and there's 35 varieties of hamburgers. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is so far away from what a donair is. I don't even know how to like explain it to you.
Just shook our heads and walked out.
And yeah, and there's other places. I know there's like a chain out there called Donair Dude, and I was like, what is that? And I looked it up, and they also do not serve donairs. So,
whoa.
well, let's put it this way: they were selling a chicken donair. So if you can figure out what that is, let me know.
I wonder what
Sacrilege.
the fake donairs are.
I think it's like what they call shawarma out there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's a donair is like a specific thing.
Well, I guess if you want to do a restaurant in Vancouver and you're from the East Coast, they need some donairs over there.
They need some education. Is what they need. They need some cultural exchanges.
Yeah.
But no, otherwise, so yeah, that was Saturday night, and then we kind of talk about Sunday breakfast.
Oh my goodness.
Let's set the scene.
Okay, so we're in the hotel trying to like, we want to get some brunch. Like we're about to head to PlayOn area, so we want to fuel ourselves for this. And so we're looking, and there's a couple restaurants around us, and I don't know, there's just something about these pictures from Jam Cafe that I was just drawn to. Like, it was love at first sight kind of thing. It's like, oh, it's just around the corner, let's just check it out. And so we check out, and luckily and nicely the hotel saved our baggage there, so we make our way down to Beatty Street, which is just around the corner from the stadium. And we get closer and closer, and this lineup is getting longer and longer. The closer we get, we're like, that's the lineup. Like, it was so long, it split into two.
There was like, to keep emergency exits open, there was like breaks in it.
And I'm hearing like mumbling of like 45-minute waits and an hour wait, and then there was a restaurant, what was it, 3 doors up from it, that also advertised for brunch. So we go in, and I don't know why, but they had this like heavy leather curtain in front, so you had to like lift it up and then walk through it. And they're like, oh, reservations? No. Oh, we'll take your number and we'll give you a call. I'm not... I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling like this was a
I
place
feel
for
like
us.
you almost had like a premonition. You were like, let's just get in line. Let's just
Yeah,
get in line at the other place and we'll see how it goes.
yeah. Let's see how fast it kind of goes. I was seeing some people come out, so maybe it'll go by. And let's just check out the menu. So we're waiting in line. It's not going that fast. It's like a little crawl, but it's just my heart is just like, no, this is the place to go. And we got the text message from the other brunch place, and I think I gave you the puppy dog eyes, like, no.
Because I'm not normally willing to wait for a restaurant, and like normally I'm like you know what, like can it be worth the hour? Like wait, I don't know,
Mhm.
like I don't want to risk it. But yeah, no, Kaylee gave me the like, well, maybe we should wait. I was like, okay, we got nothing else to do. Like,
Yeah, it's
sure.
not raining. It's yeah, like the lineup. People were in good spirits. They're not grumbling. It's kind of like this feels kind of nice, and we could just hang outside and kind of get yelled at by people walking by.
We did get
Which,
yeah.
anyways, we're looking at the menu, and just looking at the menu was impressive. There was many great options.
Mm.
And then we're at the front of the line. We finally made our hour, and they come to us. They're like, so there's a table that just needs to be cleaned, or we can put you at the bar. And I know Laura and I just looked at each other like, nah, we're not. We didn't wait this long to just sit at a bar, like sit next to each other. And we could see that the table that was available was right in the front, perfect like window seating. I'm like, no, I want that seat. So we waited, and then, what, 30 seconds later, like, oh, you can come in now. So that was worth the wait, and we sit down, and it's very pleasant, and it was really like uniquely decorated. There's a bunch of knickknacks on the wall, so your eyes could just easily wander, and just the atmosphere inside was just like happy and just go lucky. And I was watching other people's portions come to them, like, oh my goodness, like these are huge portions, but not really thinking much of it. So Laura orders the buffalo chicken buffalo Benny.
So yeah, buffalo like fried chicken, eggs Benedict with blue cheese.
Yes.
Which was oh.
And then I ordered the tater tot bowl with pulled pork, and we wanted to share French toast. Like we wanted something sweet. Like,
Well, because as we were looking around, we noticed we were like, oh, and then we look over and the special today is chocolate French toast on brioche, and we're like, oh, who can say no to that?
Not us. And we ordered it, and you know what? Didn't have to wait that long for the
No,
food.
it was super fast.
Yeah, and our orders came to us, and like this tater tot bowl wasn't a faux bowl, like it was huge. And then yours had a beautiful presentation, had some like red slaw, so it really had like that pop of color, and just you could see the chicken was just doused in this buffalo sauce. And so we bite into it because we're told like our French toast is going to take a little bit, and I believe we ate the food before the French toast, right?
Yeah, we saved it kind of as like a dessert.
Yes, and so, well, before it actually arrived, but we took our first bites, and I think we looked at each other like, oh my god, what did we just put in our mouth? And we did it, like, we tried it again. It's like, this is like perfection. Like Silnash would be proud of this.
It was so perfect.
Yeah.
Like the first bite, I think it took me 2 or 3 minutes of just like savoring it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to move on. I was just like I got lost in it. And like there's not many times you eat a meal where it like takes your breath away. Like
yeah.
And then like each bite was just like better than the last and different, and I cannot stress how like spiritually lifted I felt by this like eggs Benedict.
And while the angels around you are singing, this French toast like drops in. And it's like,
And how thick were the pieces of bread? They were 2 inches thick.
2.5.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, so we're looking at that was over 5 inches of bread, and then like another
it's
2
a 6
inches
inch
of whipped cream, and then this gooseberry on top. So we're looking at like like 10 inches of just wow.
It was, yeah, like the sheer level of love that was in like every bite.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go to a restaurant, there's always kind of like, oh, you know what, maybe if they had done this a little different, it would have been like, there's kind of those like, just like not even complaints, but just like, oh, you know, maybe I would have done that a little differently, or like, oh, it would have been nicer if they had done this. Nothing. I could think of nothing.
Even like the eggs were perfectly cooked. Your poached eggs were just
it just like melted out onto. It was even like, well, like out of habit, there was mine came with hash browns. I like put some ketchup on the side of my plate just out of habit and didn't use it because I was just like, this needs nothing. It is so good. It is so perfectly balanced. It was like Fulgrim himself cooked it.
Yes, we were fed by Fulgrim.
I would, you know what? If we had to look back there and there was a 9-foot tall guy with like long white hair, I would have been like, checks out.
I think it was a female, because we had a female chef come to us and was just seeing if we had like the right orders and stuff. And then I saw her expediting, so I think it's a female. She
also checks out.
Yes.
But no, if you're in Vancouver, you know what? Even if you're just like vaguely near Vancouver, Jam Cafe. It was probably the second best meal I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And like the first best meal I ever had in my life was like a steakhouse, like dry aged meat, like that level of like, you know, it was not a cheap meal. This was like, this was like. For $20, it was like, wow, I've never eaten breakfast better than this.
Yep.
I've paid more for breakfast, and it has not even come close to that.
Yeah. Cora's eat your heart out.
Right? Well, like, how do you go back to Cora's after this?
No, never.
like it was a zero compromise, a zero complaints, a zero issues meal.
Yeah.
Just pure indulgence.
This is a place where I would want to try everything off the menu. Like, there's some places where you're like, no, I like this. This is my thing that I always want. But no, I would want to venture to try everything just to see how they do flavor combinations. Because mine was like tater tots, tossed in buffalo sauce. Now, we kind of have to go off on this buffalo sauce because it was real buttery buffalo sauce.
Yeah, they made the buffalo sauce. You could tell.
Yeah, and then
it was rich.
Yeah, and then like sprinkles of cheddar cheese, not too much, not too little, and then the pulled pork. Never had pulled pork like this before. It was sweet and savory, and it wasn't saucy. It was perfect with like a corn salsa on top, and these 2 perfectly cooked sunny side eggs with this chimichurri. Oh, every bite was just like a pop in the mouth. Like, wow.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had made the tater tots. Like, with just how much like love and care there was in it. Like if you told me like, oh yeah, they make the tater tots there, I'd be like, that seems so unnecessary, but I believe it.
Yeah, because your hash browns, it wasn't just like any type of hash browns. Yours was like cooked in a square pan.
Yep.
Cut. So, and there was like the shaved potatoes. Perfect.
And even like the bits of onion were like, also they clearly like were like hand dicing it. Because they were small enough that they blended in with the hash brown, but large enough that you still got that like pop of that sweetness.
Oh,
it was, yeah.
I was so lost in my bowl. I didn't get a chance to try your hash browns, even though like you kept saying you gotta try these hash browns. You gotta try these hash browns. I was just like so lost in my bowl.
I think it took us like almost an hour to eat this breakfast because we just kept being like, I gotta stop and just enjoy this for a couple minutes, like multiple times through the meal, and then then we get to the French toast. Oh, I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm like having a moment.
Oh.
It was like definitely like a bakery or like handmade brioche loaf.
Mm-hmm.
It was so light and like fluffy that it wasn't like a custardy French toast where it's like very heavy with egg. And there was like this.
Yeah, like didn't have much. It didn't have much of an egg coating around it at all.
No. It was the brioche was like what you were enjoying was most of it. Like, and it was like a buttery, rich brioche with like hints of cinnamon swirled throughout it.
It was a cinnamon bun bread, like
it was, and the pastry cream was perfect. It was clearly like a handmade ganache with like very high quality chocolate.
Yes.
Like there was like. They hilariously had like table syrup on the table, and I'm like, why would you like, why would you disgrace this meal with table syrup?
Yeah. Well, they also had the ketchup, and definitely don't eat.
I made that mistake. I almost committed a faux pas.
It was okay. So this meal was so good. Laura was like, "You should go live." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna share this moment with the world." And we did.
You know what? You should go and find that on Kaylee's Instagram because we had to like, I don't know, there needed to be like some evidence of it because if not, I feel like no one would believe us that this meal was so good.
Yeah.
No, I cannot. We've talked for like 15 minutes about this place, so we should probably move on beyond Sunday morning.
It's not sponsored by a Gem Cafe.
No. But Gem Cafe, if you want to sponsor us,
we would like 100%. You want people to come to your restaurant? You want more people in that lineup? Not that they
just
need
let us know. Right.
So check out Gem Cafe. Let us know your experience and what dish you had. Would love to know.
Yes.
Share pictures. Share your moments with us.
Hashtag Chaos Divided.
Yes.
And then so we then make our way out to Coquitlam.
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Get on the SkyTrain. And you know what is distressing about the SkyTrain? The most distressing part, other than the name, nobody operates it. There's no people on there. There's just like you're just like looking around, and it's just an empty shell full of like passengers, and you're like, this is concerning on my old timey head. I know this is what the future looks like, but it's uncomfortable in some ways.
I like it.
I know you did. You were like, SkyTrain. I was like, I don't know what we're doing here.
I thought you were gonna like say the most distressing part of the SkyTrain was when it didn't accept your credit card at first.
It didn't accept any card.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, the only cash I have is a $50 bill. Didn't accept that either. So
no.
I owe Nurgle 1 fare on the SkyTrain at some point.
No, you don't. We even.
But we make our way out there.
Climb the hill to get to it. Get off the SkyTrain.
Everywhere's a hill in Vancouver, and it sucks so bad. We're so tired by this point too. Like, just like all the traveling, and like I'd gotten up early Sunday morning and spent like 2 hours just walking around Vancouver, taking pictures of like empty streets because I don't know, when you're that offset from the time zone, I like can't. I wake up early, so.
Well, it was like 10, 11 o'clock our time anyways, so.
Yeah, it like in my head made sense that I was up, but I was like, I was walking around at like 4:30 in the morning around Vancouver, and like there was no one around.
Ghost town.
But so I'd done a bunch of walking already. I was like, all right, I just need to like collapse at this point. But, but we were very generously hosted by the one and only Tack.
So cute. He's so adorable.
I know, he's like the nicest host.
We actually got met by Tanya first.
Mm.
We rang the doorbell, 3 times? And but we could hear like there's some activity going on. I'm like, I guess I'll try knocking. Like maybe the doorbell doesn't work. Knocked, and then Tanya opens the door, and you just hear blaring K-pop. Like, and I had messaged on the Discord, does your doorbell work? And I didn't find out until after. He's like, that hasn't worked for a long time. So, Tack, get your doorbell fixed. Kidding. You do what you do. Anyway, so we go upstairs and had our greetings with Tanya and chatted for a bit. Then Tack, like, I want to share this because it's the most adorable thing ever. And it's, we're just hanging out in the living room and sharing our greetings. And then Tack comes downstairs with arms full of laundry. And we're just like, oh, hi, Tack. Thank you so much for, like, letting us stay and being a great host. And he's like, oh, you're welcome. And he makes his way to the laundry, and I come to him, and I was like, are you okay with handshakes? And he's like, yes. And he drops his, like, laundry, and we handshake. And then it was just, like, a friendship, I think, was born from there. He just...
I got to spend quite a bit of time with Tack, and I really appreciated, like, how generous he was with his time and his company.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was generous with his space to let us stay there, but he was also like very generous, just like talking and getting to know each other, and it was truly quite wonderful because he's a pretty incredible guy.
Yes, it was nice to see the man behind the screen.
Yeah,
very intelligent and very like worldly, which was great to hear his stories. Hence why he shared the cat poop coffee.
Well, and if you think that the food talk is going to end, fun fact, Tack is a huge foodie, so every meal we had was amazing.
Yeah. And then he had things to do around the house, so we skittered off to the studio where Mubin and Dr. Rhino... No, yeah, we were going to meet there, yes.
Yep.
And then got to meet those two, and how incredible are they?
Right? I feel like we ended up having this like, I don't know, almost like like fairy book like evening with Dr. Rhino and Mubin. We just showed up, and we like hung out for a little bit, went for supper, and
did our first
he was just like so cool. No, that was the Korean barbecue.
That was Korean kind of like Korean barbecue in a hot pot, right?
Yeah, it like wasn't
because it's not barbecue.
Flame. It was like broth. A simmery thing that had Oh, it was delicious. I don't know the exact details of it, but it was very good.
There was octopus and pork swimming in broth with cheese and corn on the side. I've never seen that before.
The cheese, okay, dipping the cheese in like the rice was so good. And we got to like talk to Dr. Rhino.
Yes.
But, like his dad had been there. Oh. They did a game together and just like talking about what that meant to him, and just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, you guys should check it out on PlayOn Tabletop. They did so Dr. Rhino and his actual dad, went to PlayOn Tabletop and did a live stream, and I guess it is the most wholesome video ever. The whole chat was just loving it. I haven't had a chance to check it out since we've been back and kind of dealing with some stuff, but like I really want to watch this, and if we're into wholesomeness, I'm sure this is up our alley, so I really want to watch it.
It sounds like some wholesome hammer. I think they might be taking our brand.
No. We share the wholesome. We don't keep the wholesome.
I know.
But
it'd be very unwholesome of us to not share.
I had chatted with Dr. Rhino a couple of times through the internets, but what an incredible person in life. So much passion, so much like love, and just like I would love to see him and Dave in the same room. I think
that's a lot of energy.
It was be like a nuclear plant of just
I think it would start glowing around them. It would just like you'd have like a nuclear fusion effect where they just like, I don't know, lasers would be firing off. It might not be safe to be near it.
Caution.
They're, he's like a super fun, like high energy, excited, and like he was one of the guys that got into Warhammer like over COVID, and you can tell that he just like he didn't just be like, oh, I kind of like this. Like he dove in, and he's like everything. He's just like consuming it and getting the most out of it. And I think that's why it was so impactful that his dad got into it too, because it's like something that they've been able to share together.
Well, like he even shared that like why his dad kind of did it was, I guess, what's the word? Raising little Dr. Rhino. He put the doc into a lot of sports and stuff, and I guess how it came about was his dad was like, you know what? I put you in a lot of sports and share those memories with you, and you're into this thing. Let's do what you're into, and played a game with his son live.
Yeah.
And I guess he was like dad jokes throughout the entire time. So I'm gonna love this stream.
I know. I also, it's only been a few days since we got back, and I feel like I'm still recovering.
Yeah.
It's definitely something I want to check out. And yeah, we also got to hang out with Moobin, which was very cool.
He's hilarious.
He is hilarious.
And I love his love for Magnus.
Right? I feel like that we broke the ice at one point, because it's like, we all know Magnus is like the nicest Primarch model, and he was just like, yes.
I couldn't say.
It's like, until we get Fulgrim, we'll see, but Magnus is currently the nicest, and he was like, I will accept this answer. And yeah, just getting to see everyone interact, and I think it was also like Tanya's first time meeting Dr. Rhino as well. Obviously, she's known Moobin before, so it was like a lot of just like getting to know each other and meeting each other. I think Dr. Rhino's a big fan of yours. I think he was very excited to meet you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Dr. Rhino.
Yeah, I think he was. I think it's one of those like you've admired each other's work from afar, so getting to see each other.
Yeah. Which I got to see some of his stuff in person as well, and it's more incredible in person.
A lot of miniatures don't record very well. Like having had the benefit of seeing like Mike's models who we've had on the show before in person, like when somebody is such a like detailed painter, like Dr. Rhino is, I would say he's a very technically capable painter. A camera can't really capture that.
No, because like in a picture, you are already setting the focal point, and when it comes to like a detailed model, there's so many focal points, and you can see it all around, and colors are way different in the real life.
Yeah, and even just being able to like look around a model, because a camera also forces you into one perspective.
Exactly.
So, and even like video doesn't convey it very well either. So it was very nice to see some just absolutely lovingly painted miniatures. It was art.
And then we went out and had ice cream. Rock Point, I think they called it.
Right. I don't know. I got every name wrong every time I said it. So
yeah. And you got licorice ice cream, like
black licorice ice cream.
Yeah.
It was delicious. I was also the only one who got a cone. I was like, isn't when you go for ice cream cones are like the standard? Y'all were eating your bowls of ice cream?
Honestly, I took the bowl because I was so full from all the food we've already been eating. Like the Jam Cafe like filled me up. Like
it's true.
To the brim of satisfaction. Like
I know. The Korean barbecue was so good, but I ate so little of it.
Yes. Yeah. Same.
Well, it was like 3 hours later. Like, it was, but no, that ice cream was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't like touristy either. Like, it was just like very nice. Well, like they must make it there.
I think it was, and it dawned on Dr. Rhino that he's in Canada, standing in the rain, eating ice cream in November. with people from either side of the country. It's probably a surreal moment for him.
Well, and he's from like the middle because he's from like outside
Yeah.
of Chicago, so
Yeah.
he's from like the middle of the continent. And you know what? That's one of those just like moments that you don't expect, but that are very cool.
Yeah. Yep. And then we made our way back to the studio and we chatted about Warhammer lore for how long?
I you could be like, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite story? Like he wanted to share everything, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I didn't have much to add to the conversation, but I enjoyed watching you guys just ping pong back and forth all your love for the lore.
One of the struggles I have is like because I've been in this for so long. Like some of these books I read like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're fresh for him because he's like, you know, he's in it. It's been a few years. He's like tearing through these books, wants to learn everything, and he'll be like, "Oh, I remember in this book when that happened." Like, you're gonna have to give me a minute to remember because it was 2009 when I read that book, and it's not on the tip of my tongue, but I'll get there.
Yeah, let me just open up the filing cabinet.
Right.
Ah, yes. Nemesis sounds like a great book. The one about all the assassins.
Oh, it is. It's one of the best heresy novels.
Mm-hmm.
It's very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the best heresy ones are usually the ones that have the least amount of Space Marines in them.
I was just about to make that statement.
It's actually one of the nicer ones. Like a lot of the Thousand Suns ones have a lot of human characters in them, which is why a lot of the earlier ones are actually also very good. The Emperor's Children ones also feature a lot of humans, because the Emperor's Children were one of the legions. Like the Thousand Sons and Emperor's Children actually liked having people around. Like the whole Remembrancer thing, they were like really big into, and quite like enjoyed interacting with humans. So there's a lot of human perspective. So yeah, any of them that have not Space Marines, because the Space Marines end up just kind of being like harumph, duty and honor, harumph.
Yeah.
Are usually like solid reads. Well, they just end up being very like, I don't know. If you read any of the Imperial Fist novels, that's like them at their worst, because they're just like. Well, there's the one. It's like the Imperial Fists versus the Alpha Legion, and it's literally just like a bunch of Imperial Fists trying to figure out what's going on. As Dorn just goes like, "I know what's going to happen. Do you know what's going to happen? Have you figured it out yet?" And like not helping any of them at all. And you're just like, "This is very silly." So no, Nemesis was on, and I think highly recommended by both Dr. Brino and Tanya. So
yeah.
Are you gonna read it now?
Can I read it outside of the like the Chronicle?
Oh yeah,
order.
A lot of them you can.
Okay.
The only ones that are actually in like a set order are like the first 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
Basically, like until you get to the end of like the massacre, that's what's kind of in order, and then from there they just shoot everywhere.
Yeah.
One of the struggles actually with the Horus Heresy is it's very hard to figure out when things are happening. So, no. I mean, as long as you know that Horus betrays the Emperor and starts civil war.
He does what now?
That's no spoilers. I'm sorry. That's pretty much the background you need for Nemesis.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that brings us to Sunday night, which was honestly, it was just absolutely, even just being in the studio, because that was kind of like the quiet time that we were there, because it was like, you know, Sunday night, nobody was really there other than us. It's not like a huge space, but it is definitely like a space just filled with Warhammer, which is kind of like, normally you only see that in like a game store, but it was really nice to see it in like a creative space. Like you like look around and like, I am not going to say anything that I saw because I
signed the NDA. Yeah,
I signed the NDA. But you're just like casually looking around. It's like, oh, there's some like absolutely beautifully painted models, and oh look, there's some absolutely beautifully painted models. And it's just like everything is so like filled with like passion that it's hard not to just like feel a little bit inspired walking in the door to this like what is really just kind of like an office building.
Everywhere you look, Warhammer.
Right. But like not just like, oh, that's some like models. It's like, oh, you look over and you're like, wow, that is one of the best painted of that I've ever seen.
Oh, yes. And like I think Tack said he does like 80% of the painting.
Yeah. I think he's a bit of a
Incredible.
machine when it comes to painting.
Yeah, sounds like it. Like I would love to just watch his process.
I have a feeling it's like, I mean, I think he paints a lot of Space Marines. I have a
Mhm.
feeling that's probably pretty like paint by numbers by this point, because
Mhm.
it's a lot of similar sculpts.
Yeah.
Like you kind of know what you're gonna do.
Like one of the conversations that was brought up a couple of times with him was, oh yeah, I just gotta paint 2,000 white scars, 2,000 point white scars.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get to it. Damn.
And like to like a very high level.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's super impressive, and like everything is just gorgeous. It was humbling to be there.
I agree.
So how are you feeling Sunday night looking towards Monday?
It was the same I had been feeling for the last couple months. Nervous. I don't know what to expect, but honestly, I couldn't stop just to question it. I was like, okay, I'm nervous. Of course, I'm nervous. I think anybody would be nervous in my position. And it was also like, you know, those you hear everyone calls it the imposter syndrome. There were a couple times I'm just like, what am I doing here? What is going on?
I mean, if you felt out of place, I was the one who was just like, oh yes, look at all these great content creators and Laura.
Yeah, what were you saying? Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go out for dinner and Laura.
No, you know what? I know because we talked a bit about like how the game would go, and we'd done some like theory hammering Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from my perspective, you didn't seem that nervous. I think you like. I knew you were maybe a little in your head about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew you were in a good spot going into it. So I was like, I wasn't worried for you because I knew you were going to do amazingly.
I think I was just more like, I don't know what the process is whatsoever, right? Like, I don't know how they filming it. Like, I didn't know how the interviews were gonna go. I didn't know like the cinematics were gonna go. Just kind of that style. So I think just accepting. I don't know. I'm just gonna go forth.
I think the big thing we learned is things go slowly. It is a long process.
Yes. I think in total it was from like 10 to 7:30. Now it wasn't all straight filming, like we had breaks of food and stuff, but yes, very, very long battle.
It was a high tension moment, that's for sure. It's just like it's there the whole time.
Yes. But I was also really happy that I could bring my models and share this experience, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how they look captured in 4K and with the best cameras and the best like cinematics and effects. Like I am so looking forward to that.
Me too.
I didn't even, because a little bit of a foreshadow a little bit, but I didn't get to see how they did the cinematics. It was done next morning with Nick alone. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be a
Nick had
shock
some
for me.
alone time with your models.
What Nick does with my models stays with Nick.
Right. But no, I'm super stoked because I mean, you brought some of probably your like most beautiful models with you,
And that's how I built the list. I was like, you look good, you're in. You look gorgeous, you're in. Was it competitive? Hell no. It was more just to like, I want to see these on a screen, and this is how they fit in the list. That was it. That's how I made my list.
It was a even like when you were like unpacking them. Also, I guess a little bit of foreshadowing, but like they were so colorful that like even from a distance they like popped.
Yeah.
So I'm like so curious to see like what they're gonna do with it, because I think it's gonna be when like we've said this before, when people think of Nurgle, it's not usually the color schemes that you have. But I think people are gonna be like amazed.
I hope so. Oh. Yeah, they picked the perfect mat and terrain for it.
Everything stood out. It was so nice.
And not only just my army, but Tanya's army as well.
Well, Tanya's army is also very colorful, so there was a lot of color on the board.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful. I got to see the oil can command.
Yes.
In person, up close. It was very cool. Actually, her painting also looks so much better in person.
Yes, it's so clean. Like I didn't see a brush stroke. You'd think that she was using an airbrush, how she got that blue on.
But I also know she doesn't use an airbrush.
No, I know.
It's like, it's shocking, yeah.
What were your thoughts going into Monday? Being a bystander.
I will fully admit I was on Nurgle Snurgle's coattails the whole time. I was just watching. I was a pedestrian on that bus. I was excited. I was excited to see the two of you. I think you were both going to have a great game, because you were both nervous in like to see what was going to happen. And I think, like, I thought, and having looked at both lists, I believed it was going to be a very strong game. Like, it was going to be a very technical game of Warhammer, and I knew it was going to make a good show. And I think you two didn't necessarily realize that as strongly, so I was just kind of like excited. Like, where you were nervous, I was like, I want to see this happen because it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Like, I was excited to see it unfold, because like, I don't know, I feel like when we met Tanya, it was like almost instantly just like I've talked to her a few times, you've talked to her a lot more. Like, it was just kind of like this like instant connection in a lot of ways. And I knew the two of you were just gonna go and have like a fun, great game. So I was just like, I had no worries.
Good.
I was Hakuna Matata.
And I'm really glad, and if they're listening to this, like, thank you, PlayOn and the crew there, just like allowing us to come on your show, allowing Laura to come and watch as well. I think that was super sweet and super nice, and just a big snurgly thank you.
I think I've heard before that they're like great guys,
yes,
but to experience their generosity and kindness in person was absolutely amazing.
Great's not even like the single word to use for them.
No, it's like great doesn't go far enough. I got back into Warhammer because of PlayOn, so like going for me was kind of like a soul lifting moment. Like, I wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for PlayOn.
Yeah.
So to actually get to go and see kind of behind the scenes and get to like interact with them all and get to know some of them and just have like great conversations was very like fulfilling in a lot of ways. And that's what I mean when they're like, they were generous with themselves as well. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, they like hosted us and they let us come in. Like, they were very generous with their time. They were very generous with like interaction and just stories, like camaraderie and like so helpful in so many ways and so nice about it. That like, it was really like emotional for me on Monday, actually. Like, when we got there, it was a little like overwhelming because like, it's this thing that has meant a lot. I don't think I just like sucked it in. But it was a thing that meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to like the person I ended up becoming. Like, little old me kind of dipping my toe back into Warhammer, watching 40k in 40 minutes was kind of like, look how far you've come. But,
little
like,
Laura's giving you a thumbs up.
Right?
You're a good kid.
I mean, it was only a few years ago, but it's like to think of like all the changes and like, yeah. And I got to like hang out with JT while filming happened. So that was just, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. And I think we're going to continue on with this. but it's going to be our extended podcast for the Patreon. So if you do want to check it out, we offer a 7-day free trial.
Yep.
So you don't have to pay us anything to get the rest of this. And I think it's going to be, there's a lot more good stories to tell. So
I just want to add
Dutch pancakes.
Yes, Dutch pancakes, hot pot.
A lot
donuts.
more food to go through.
I just wanted to add to that because it's something that I've heard a lot being in the content creator world, and that's don't meet your heroes. I think if you hear that, don't listen to it. It is like a garbage term. Yes, it comes into play sometimes, but when it comes to like Warhammer content creators, meet your heroes. They're incredible. I think because we're not owned by companies. They're just individuals doing what they love, sharing their passion, and like we were saying with the PlayOn Tabletop guys, you may see them as heroes, but they are incredible gentlemen.
I got a message actually after while we were away, and it was Dr. Rhino's story, and I shared it. And it was someone who said like, oh, I'd be so nervous to like even come near that table. Like that's so many like famous people. And I replied, I was like, honestly, you shouldn't feel nervous at all. Like they're just people. Like say hello, and like I have yet to meet anyone who's like grouchy. Yeah, like you don't need to be nervous at all, and like just say hi.
Beautifully put.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Chaos Divided, both here and on Instagram and YouTube at Chaos Divided 40K. And you can find us on social media at Nurgle_Snurgle and at Blushing Noise Marine. We hope you check out our Patreon. If you're a fan of what we do and you want to support us, you can find the link in the episode description. Until next week, bye-bye.
Ciao for now.